So the 5 things that you should do to prepare for the launch of Dawn of the Hunt is number one, there are a couple of pieces of software that you should definitely use. So number one, I've been using Exiled Exchange to check the prices of items. This is extremely useful as it saves a bunch of time. Basically, all you do is you download it and then it runs as like an overlay, and you can just hit Control Alt D to check the price of an item, and I'll bring it up in game. For items that are like rares, you can also select the specific like modifiers that you want to search for. Sometimes there will be modifiers that like if you search them, you won't really find that many items with those modifiers, so it's hard to price check against the modifiers that actually matter. So that's why that's important, being able to select the modifiers. But anyways, you should definitely use it. From what I understand, it is relatively safe. If you use this, people have recommended Virus Total. Anything that you can download, you can choose a file and put it in here, and then it'll tell you like whether it'll detect any suspicious like anything. So I definitely suggest using this when you're downloading like community made software. But anyways, moving on from price checking, again, super helpful, and it does give you like all the commands that you need. I would definitely get a filter, maybe not for the campaign, it's not really necessarily needed, but definitely for when you get into maps. And you know, a filter can be useful for campaigns so you don't miss like a divine orb or something crazy like that. Like that could be terrible. But anyways, filter blade is what, you know, I think the majority of people use. Basically, you can choose how strict of a filter you want to use. So, and then once you do that, you can either export to PoE, you can also sign in and then link your account. The other thing you can do is if you just go to like PoE filters, like popular item filters, you can also just see like the most popular item filters for the different, you can choose the game type here, by the way. And then you can click on them, and then if you hit follow and you're logged in, basically it'll show up automatically in your game, and you can select the item filter there. It's like under game settings and then game info. I'll show it later. But anyways, moving on from Filter Blade, where you can either make your own or just select a popular item filter, totally up to you. I won't go into the details of that, how that works. If you want like a slightly less flashy filter, someone posted on Reddit the other day that they had made this website. It's PoE2filter.com. And basically it's a lot like more low key. As you can see right here, this is what item drops look like. And it's pretty easy. I've actually found PoE2 filter easier to customize than Filter Blade. Filter Blade's super good, but the UI is just sort of hard to understand and stuff, whereas this is super clear. I do think that Filter Blade maybe has a couple of things that you can't do with this one, but I'm not exactly sure. I haven't messed around too much with my own filters. But anyways, PoEfilter.com if you want like a slightly more low key, and it's super easy to make like all of your own rules and stuff. So just something to keep in mind if you want different options for your own loot filters. So moving on from there, if you're into building your own builds, definitely use Path of Building. I'm not sure if they have it updated yet for the Dawn of the Hunt. Like differences, they probably don't because they're waiting on the data mining info. But once that's out, it'll have like all of the new updated nodes and stuff, and you can download it for Path of Exile 2. And once you have that downloaded, you should be able to, test out your builds, see what gives you the most damage and stuff like that. So anyways, moving on from there, there are a couple of other websites that I'd suggest looking at. Also, if you want to see like what websites I use, I just have this bookmark folder, and these are all the websites I use, so you can take a quick look. But I'd highly suggest keeping, a close eye at MobileX, Maxroll, and PoE2 Ninja. If you're a person who's big on following build guides, these all have different builds that will be released, especially for Dawn of the Hunt. So just keep an eye on these, and probably the most popular builds will show up on those pretty early on, maybe a day or two into the game. And then, obviously you're gonna need PoE2 trade unless you're playing like solo self-found. So can be extremely helpful even if you're in the campaign. I'd highly suggest like searching for whatever items are useful for your build, or even just like small upgrades to your weapons and stuff can make huge differences. So, say you're using like a bow or, a spear or whatever, and you put like some minimum damage that's higher than whatever you're wearing now. And then you can search for it, and obviously it's not going to show up because there aren't any spears on the market right now. But then you can activate live search, and then you'll just be pinged whenever someone posts it on there. And everything should be relatively cheap at the beginning of the league start. So just keep in mind that this can be a good way to find items to, make your way through campaign a lot easier. The other thing, like, if you're trying to make a ton of money, and, it's like a day 1 or day 2 into wipe and people are getting to maps, you can also start searching for the more rare items like stellar amulets or dream fragments or whatever. So anyways, moving on from the trade website, there's not really anything else that you necessarily need, but I have been using PoE2scout.com to look at the market and the changes. There's a number of websites for this. There's also orbwatch.trade, which is pretty decent. And, it's just sort of personal preference on what you use. And then finally, if you're crafting a lot, you should definitely use Path of Exile 2. Make sure you click PoE2 up here. And then you can go through, whatever you're trying to craft and see what the chances are. Extremely helpful, especially if you're crafting a lot. Okay, so the next thing I would suggest for you to do is definitely make sure that you organize your stash tabs. And if you haven't bought any, I would also suggest buying some stash tabs, at least premium ones, so that you're able to actually sell things on the trade website. It's super helpful. Otherwise you're basically just playing solo self-found. But make sure you buy yourself some stash tabs. Personally, I like the premium quad stash tabs the most, but some people like the normal stash tabs more, and they're pretty much like the same efficiency per point, like slot per point. So it doesn't really matter, but everyone should have some points for buying early access. So I'd highly suggest using those on stash tabs instead of your, cosmetics or whatever. But then, make sure they're sorted. Mine honestly aren't that sorted. I think I'm going to go through and sort everything beforehand. I'm definitely going to make like a folder. You can make folders up here if you didn't know. It's up here, right here, create new folder, and then you can put like different stuff into them. So you could have like one folder for all your dump tabs, stuff like that. Definitely can make it easier to find all your different things. I'll probably make like a folder for different league mechanics as well, because it doesn't sound like they're adding a new stash tab for like omens or expedition. So anyways, make sure that these are all sorted through and easy to find what you're looking for. It can definitely save you a bunch of time. I definitely say that you shouldn't spend a lot of time, sorting your items on League launch. You should just have like a dump tab for any rares that you use throughout the campaign or think that are good. Use those, sell them. I don't know, like maybe you'd want a couple, like one for 1 exalt, 2 exalts, 5 exalts, stuff like that. And then just like do your best to price the different items that you get as you go through the campaign and early maps. Definitely helpful to get that early currency though from trading people. So anyways, moving on from there. So the next thing I would suggest is twofold. One, I would suggest if you have the time playing through acts 1 through 3 on the campaign and just practicing, knowing where everything is. And the other part of this is that this Discord is extremely helpful for going through the campaign quickly. It's called PoE2 Campaign Codex. So this is a link if you want to join them. I'll have a link below. And again, I'll have all the websites linked below this video as well. But anyways, this Discord is extremely helpful, as basically it gives you the map layouts for all of the different maps. And it tells you, what's important to pick up in each map. Keep in mind that they are adding like an Asmarian Wisp quest line in the Grailwood, so there will be a couple of extra things. So this isn't like 100% accurate for Dawn of the Hunt, and they may add other quests throughout. So it's just something to keep in mind, but it'll be mostly accurate. So as you can see, every single different place in the campaign, they've basically done their best to solve and figure out how to get through it as quickly as possible. On the left side, depending on what color it is, green versus orange versus yellow, it shows how solved it is. So green is like mostly solved, whereas like red is like, it's pretty iffy, but in general, you will find a bunch of helpful map layouts in this. And even just going through like acts 1 through 3 once while using these things to figure out like what they look like is extremely helpful. It teaches you a lot about how the game works, and it'll cut hours off of how long it takes you, especially in Act 3 with how much like backtracking through different things. So Apex of Filth took me a long time to figure out the first time I was going through, and this is just what it looks like. If you always just go in, like a spiral like this, you'll solve Apex of Filth in like a couple of minutes instead of like taking, like 20 minutes to find your way around it. So, it's the same thing with like Agarat as well as like the Black Chambers. So all of them have like yes, their layouts change, but they have a general like layout pattern. So this is extremely helpful, and it'll definitely make the campaign a lot easier to get through. Okay, and finally, if you are someone who's looking to make a lot of currency early on, make sure you like think about how you're going to make your currency, make an economy plan, and just come up with an idea on how you're going to make your currency, and then set up the active trades and whatever else you need, arbitrage or whatever to make those money, to make that currency. It's extremely important if you're trying to be rich that you have a plan, because otherwise the people who do have plans and you don't will get rich before you. So anyways, if you made it this far, thank you so much. It really means a lot to me. I hope you're doing well. Good luck in launch tomorrow. It's extremely exciting. And yeah, thank you so much for watching. Watch my other videos if you're interested in them. I'll have them linked at the end, and I'll see you next time.